All right, guys. Welcome to Unit 8, which is teach beyond the four walls of your classroom. And I think they shortened the title, maybe just it's just teach beyond the classroom. But this is the longest of all the units. So there's 6 different sections here. Now, although there's 6 different sections, for the Google Certified Educator Level 2 exam, the last 2 sections they're not going to be that important. Um, you know, the first section we're going to is it's use Google Meet, which was changed from Google Hangouts. That section is going to be important, and Maps is on there as well. You want to know expeditions. We're going to get to Google Earth's there, but it's not the most important thing. The first 2 sections here are really important. Now you should know all of this to prepare for the exam, but Google Meet, Google Maps, those are your main two. So I'm gonna go through all 6 sections here, and I'm gonna try to just go over the stuff that's important. I don't want this to be forever. So all right. So introduction. So this is the task list for the whole section. Okay, using Google Meet. I have this is gonna take you to a Google Meet video that I just created. I don't know a couple weeks ago. So it's up to date. It's in the playlist. There's also this link here takes you to a YouTube live video, and create and edit custom maps. That's also a link you can click. Now, this whole thing is part of the Google Slides presentation. You can get that by clicking below. I have it in the description, but if you don't want to get the Google Slides from the store, you could just stay with me, and I'll go through everything, and you could just learn just by watching. So everything that's in this playlist, everything that's on the slides presentation, you could find in this playlist. So like I said, it's also going to go over Google Earth and Science Journal. So, all right, let's go with the first one here. Use Google Meet to connect to the world. Now, this is the new video I have here, 2021 school year. It goes over everything you need to know. If you take a look at this video, it's got 20 different tasks. It covers everything you need to know in Google Meet. So there's nothing that you'll miss if you watch this video. And with Google Meet, it's important with the whole remote teaching and what's going on with the world today. So, all right. All right, so connecting with Meet. Google Meet. All right, so connect to the world while discussing best practices. That's one thing you can do. This is part of like your PLN. All right, so that goes to the next bullet, which says you can connect with people from your professional learning network. Um, Use Google Meet basically for anyone you know. Okay, you can, if you have a G Suite for Education account, most likely it's set up that you can meet with people that are outside of your domain, because you're going to have to meet with parents and things like that. You can leverage Google Meet and YouTube to enhance learning. YouTube live events is another great way. So the two main ways I do trainings for different schools and things like that, and I do one-on-one trainings. If, for some people with the Google Educator exam when they reach out to me. So, I use either a YouTube Live or a Google Meet. Those are the two that I use, and that's the two that this section is going to talk about. All right, so this is a short video here. It's about going live on YouTube. It's in my playlist, so I'm not going to waste time with that. Expand your classroom. Okay, think about some goals you'll have for Google Meet. How can you use Google Meet? Well, one I can think off the top of my head is one-on-one tutoring. And you hold classrooms. You can hold a classroom lesson in Google Meet now. Consider some ways to use Google Meet to engage students with meaningful audience and learning experiences without physically leaving the room. It's interesting. This whole section on Google Meet it has like a new meaning now because of what's going on with remote teaching and the virus and everything like that. Whereas when Google, wrote this up, they didn't really envision Google Meet being used as for an actual lesson. But we see now with what's going on how important Google Meet has become. You can use Google Meet to converse with different people around the world. Reach out to an expert speaker, perhaps someone within your personalized learning network. You might be able to find a number of people within your school community that can fill the role as an expert speaker. So Google Meet here, they're talking about bringing in like an expert speaker, but like now we know we can use this for actual lessons. They didn't really go over it as actual lessons because back then, well, they assumed in-person learning was going on. So a video-based Google Meet is not broadcast publicly, okay, not like YouTube. Does not save automatically. I added this part in that recordings are available if set. That's something new. Now you can record Google Meets, but if you're looking on the Google Trainer Teacher Trainer Center, they don't mention the recording part. And is not visible, so Google Meet is not visible to anyone outside of the participants. Whereas YouTube Live events can be shared on your YouTube channel, and made public. They don't really talk about this in the Skillshop Teacher Trainer Center, but you actually can make it unlisted and private. When you look at the Google training that they set forward, they mostly talk about YouTube Live for public. Okay, and that'll come up with a question. So how and when? Check that your guests. Okay, so how and when do you use Google Meet and YouTube Live? Check that your guest connecting class or audience fully understand how to connect. Consider, will you call them? Will they call into you? Make sure your guests know how to join a meet to connect. When they say call in, that also means, will they click the link? Remember, you can use Google Meet now in Google Classroom. You could use it on Calendar, and Google Meets even in Gmail now. Okay, a test. Performing a test before the live event can be great learning experience and help solve any anticipated technical issues. Location. Think about any problems that can arise from the location. There are many factors tied to location that can impact your event. What are you looking for at the least? Make sure you have good lighting, a quiet place to conduct a meet. Now, something I noticed when I do a YouTube lives for I had to do one for another district. 11 o'clock is like the worst time for me with the internet. That's like when it gets all blurry or something like that. So just a heads up if you have some issues, like 11 to 12 o'clock for me is the worst. But that's Eastern time. So, I know we're in different time zones. Rehearsal. Make a rough outline agenda of the flow of the meet. Okay, this is, any meeting you should have an agenda, right? Think about how much time introductions, questions take. Think about if your students will be participating. Will your students ask any questions? Review policy and permissions. Okay, review policies and permissions with your administration about guest speakers and media permissions. Many schools require prior authorization for guests to interact with the class, whether virtually or in person, and that's true. That's true of my school. Okay, getting inspired. A history class in the United States was able to connect with a Peace Corps class in India. So that's just one great example. Once a week, my students do a YouTube Live event to showcase a science experiment. Be very careful with permissions and make sure everybody signs off and the school's okay with any of this. Because some teachers have to meet with so many parents, teachers may have their own YouTube channel and broadcast a meeting. Have individual meetings with parents on Google Meet. Meet is great for like a one-on-one. If you want to do a one-on-one meeting, that's more like a Google Meet. If you want to do for everybody like public, that's where YouTube Live would come in. Teachers can even call into the classroom when they aren't there, like on a day out, or call into a virtual field trip lesson. So what are a few ways to find someone to connect with in your class? Google Educator groups, and they're still around. The Personal Learning Network. Friends, family, acquaintances that have the right background, and people in your community. Okay, so all of them. Connect with whoever. Okay, you need to have a Google account to set up for YouTube Live to work. You need to have a Google account set up for YouTube Live to work. No, you don't need to have you don't need to have a Google account to watch on a YouTube Live. Like if somebody sends you a link or something like that. If you want to create a YouTube Live, that's a different thing. But as long as you have that link, you click that link, you'll be good to go. One of the best practices for hosting a YouTube Live event is what? Checking media permissions for student participants. Okay, always make sure everything's safe. What makes a successful meet? All participants know, what makes a successful Google Meet? So let's think about this. All participants know how to join the Hangout, that should say meet, an outline or agenda for the Hangout, and a quiet location with good lighting. So, make sure everybody knows how to join, have a nice outline, and a quiet location with good lighting. Okay, that should say meet. Use maps to create exciting virtual field trips. Maps are also important, right? So there's 6 different sections here, but I'm telling you to prepare for this Google Educator Level 2. Maps are going to be important, and Google Meet's going to be important. So this is also an important one. All right, so here's a video I have on my maps. You really need to watch this to know what it is, what it would, how to use my maps, because if you don't watch this, you're going to be lost, and you're going to have to be able to work maps in the educator, exam. So it's 6 minutes. It's a my map tutorial, and you can see right there it says Google Educator Level 2. So it's based right off the things you need for Google Educator Level 2. So Google Maps, you can use this to explore the world, right? Explore distant places and bring a fresh and innovative approach to learning. Students do love this, using Google Maps. I'm doing this extended school year right now. I got younger students. I teach in a high school, but with my younger students, they love Google Earth, Google Maps, and they just like to see all crazy places. They all want to see their house, but yeah, I don't do that. Teachers and students can see the landscape of a foreign country or land space. They can find it from ground level, even underwater, using Street View to see what the locals see. The students will love Street View the most. Okay, so if you got free time, if you give, like, let's say you finish a test or it's been a great week and the students are doing their work and things like that, explore Google Maps with Street View, explore, Google Earth, and it'll keep the kids entertained, and it'll keep them quiet, right? Because given a free period sometimes is hell. With Google Maps, learners of all ages can create and share maps that explore unique landscapes. Google Maps can outline real-time political struggles or provide a backdrop for historical events. Okay, Google Maps in practice. All right, so Google Maps can be applied to any curriculum, content, or subject area. For example, they give you some examples here. History. Explore the current landscape of Europe with maps presented in their books. So see how the landscape has, changed and compared to the books. And, if you're learning about the Mediterranean Sea, go to the beaches by the Mediterranean Sea. They have beaches. That's history. Social studies, explore local surroundings. Art, explore the ancient ruins of Rome. Math, Google Maps can measure distance, but it's also a great tool for estimating the area of land formations. Crops and circles, even looking for natural occurrences of fractals. Gets a little complicated when we talk about fractals. Learning with Google Maps. Forget textbooks, Google Maps come alive. When they say forget textbooks, there's a whole section in Google Educator Level 1. I believe it's Level 1, Unit 1, Section 4 is called, I think Beyond the Textbook. So they're coming back to this again. This is a theme in Google. Forget the textbook. Forget the textbook. Google Maps, right? So virtual tours pair with maps and enhanced learning. Here's a little image of the opening page to virtual tours. I'm not going to go out here and open up virtual tours and explore it for you because it's not that important. And like I said, there's 6 sections here, so don't worry about that. But know how to do maps though. Top-down tour. Okay, so the teacher creates a map. Creates a map for all students to embark on their journey. Tour from the bottom up. Every student creates a map to explain their learning. And this right here is a tour creator. You see right here. Okay, learning with Google Maps. Google Arts and Culture. Okay, this takes you to the Google Arts and Culture site. Okay. And what it is, it's a website, and it's a set of projects they have. They have art, a historical project, the wonders of the world, and it just aims to make cultural artifacts in the world accessible to all. So you could they give you information, they give you a nice visual. The art project is a collection of the world's museums and galleries, and it's all built on Google Maps, right? Remember, we're still in the Google Maps section here. So even when we talk about tours, right, we're still focused. This all has to do with Google Maps, all right? Take a view of historical events with interactive stories comprised of documents, videos, personal accounts, all part of the Google Arts project. Explore the Google Arts and Cultural project by taking engaging virtual field trips. Okay, all here. And I'm gonna be honest too. This is don't worry too much about this either. Virtual tours and you. Okay, this goes back to Tour Builder. All right, the best place to begin to create a tour is My Maps. Okay, and remember, it's My Maps. I hope I make sure I distinguish between the two on the previous one. With My Maps, users are able to plot points, draw shapes, create layers, and measure distance and collaborate with other map users. Okay, so again, we're talking about My Maps is the best place, to begin, to create a tour. And you can plot points, you can draw different shapes, create layers. So there's a lot you can do there, right? Experience what a virtual tour can look like with Google Tour Builder. And if I click this, it'll take you to the, to the website, and this will take you to my maps. With this, students can create their own virtual tours. You can create maps and add in text, photos, videos. Check out the Google Earth education page. Okay, you can find a lot of content that can be adapted from the online version of Google Maps, and there are options for beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So Google Maps are only private and can be shared with other users. Is that true or false? False. Okay, so they're not only private. Which Google Maps feature allows you to view an area at ground level? Street view, right? Ground level. Students can build virtual tours using Tour Builder, right? If we go back to that. My Maps allow students to plot their own points on a Google map. Is that true? Yes, right? We kind of just went back to that. We said, you could plot points, do distance, all that stuff. All right, so create a world to explore with students. All right, this is focusing on Google. This is focusing on Google Earth. Okay, and I just noticed here it says Hangouts again. I gotta make sure that it says Google Earth. So bring literature to life. Google Earth is an extremely powerful application that allows students at any grade level to travel the world through a virtual globe and view satellite imagery, maps, terrain, 3D buildings, and much more. Google Earth is fun. Okay, it takes students around the world and can have hyperlinks to content. Google Earth can break down the barriers, and they call the four walls of the classroom, because you can't leave the classroom, but you can see it virtually. Here are a few Google Earth resources to help familiarize you with the program. So if you click these two links and you have the slides presentation, it'll take you there real quick. Okay, Google Lit Trips. Okay, Google Literature Trips. Google Lit Trips are downloadable files that follow the journey of famous characters in literature on the face of the earth. Okay, so think about that. Think about a famous literary character, and it kind of just like follows them, follows them over the places they went to. I guess Marco Polo would be a good one, right? Because he explored the world and everything. So I don't know if Marco Polo's in literature much, but you get the drift, right? So Google Lit Trips, what they do is they three-dimensionalize the reading experience by placing readers inside the story, traveling alongside the characters. Maybe you could think of like somebody's talking about a famous poem or something like that, and you kind of want to go to the place where they were in literature. If you'd like to take if you'd like to take this process further and create your own Lit Trip experience, you can check out the resources below from the Google Training Center. So this is what the Google Training Center has, right? Create a Lit Trip in My Maps, Google My Maps, and the other one's being blocked right now. You have to import KML and KMZ files. Now, you have to watch it. You want to watch these the videos here, the Google Earth video and things like that, because it goes over all that stuff. Okay, across the curriculum, Google Earth enriches the curriculum. In history class, we use Google Earth to track the routes of students and explorers. In science, we use Google Earth to mark their locations of earthquakes and volcanoes. So these are just ways you can use Google Earth, right? It says Google Earth enriches the curriculum. What else can you do with Google Earth? Well, in math, you can find the volume of real-world geometric solids. In science, you can explore animal habitats. Okay, Google Earth can be used in the classroom what? All of the above, right? You can enrich lessons, you can help students experience the content in the world, and you can use it across different subjects. You can use Google Earth, right? We just did that if I go back, right? History, science, all that stuff. Google Earth can link a viewer to additional content by adding hyperlinks to other websites. True, and I think I mentioned that on the first slide of this section. Google Earth and Lit Trips allows teachers and students to do what? See landmarks in 3D in 3 dimensions, right? That's one of the points. You have to import KML or KMZ files. Explore underwater, we mentioned. And follow a path, right? Especially with Lit Trips. Where did the character go? Google Earth is too complex to be used in elementary schools. False, right? They love it. The younger the grades, the more they love Google Earth. As they get older, they don't like it so much. Okay, giving your students the world with Google Expeditions. Okay, give me 1 second. Google Expeditions allows teachers and students to explore the world through virtual reality and augmented reality tours. So you kind of have to watch this video too. It gives a pretty good explanation about Google Expeditions. Um, you know, my school actually did something with Google Expedition, and I'm gonna let me jump to the next one. Utilize cardboard or viewfinders, phone and a tablet, and you can magically transport students to anywhere on the earth. So with Google Expeditions, it's like they put this little cardboard thing. It looks like goggles on, and then they have the phone or the tablet, kind of like you have to purchase the kit. My school purchased a kit, and then it's like it's like taking them to certain parts of the world and certain historical monuments and things like that, or whatever, and it's like they're right there. Now I put it on. I thought it was really cool. The students, again, because it's high school, they didn't like it. But that's what you're going to deal with high school students. I mean, you could take them to the Grand Canyon and they're going to complain about not having a good internet connection. So they were all complaining, but I thought it was very interesting. As you explore expeditions, it's easy to see how this can be exciting and and an engaging instructional tool, which I thought it was. So for getting started with Google Expeditions, teachers can purchase the kit, which is what my school did. You could build your own kits, or you can explore without one. Is a way, I guess, with the tablet. This page right here, I would click here. This takes you to the Google support page, and it shows you a great example of the difference between a VR and AR expeditions. Okay, AR is going to bring like the object into you. I think I go over that on one of the later slides, the difference between the two. Planning for real learning through virtual reality. Okay, so consider planning objectives and essential questions before getting started with instruction using Expedition. Just like anything, right? So if you're going to plan this Expedition lesson, you're going to get started and you're going to have a lesson objective, right? And essential questions, just like you would do a typical lesson. What do you hope students will learn on the Expedition? Essential question right there, right? Well, that's an essential question for the teacher, right? Are you giving your class a chance to experience career options? Are your students engaging in an inquiry project around geometry and ancient history and ancient architecture? For each question, a variety of different expeditions to choose from. Okay, so again, there's a lot you can do. However, it is like social studies based. I feel like they do give some examples with math. All right, so let's talk about planning for real learning through virtual reality, through VR. Okay, expedition experience process. Before the expedition, you have to prep, right? So you got to preview the experience yourself here. Okay, explore, both from your teacher tablet and the student viewfinders. What points of interest do I want to draw from my students? Like, so, go in there, look from both perspectives, and what do you want to talk about? This is all just preparation. Before the expedition, just like a regular lesson, you want to tap into prior knowledge. Okay, get some context for the expedition. Explore your own living environment. Make a list of what features in your home you needed to survive. Right. So this is just an example. Right. So they said a pre-expedition activity example. So try on your own here to explore your own environment. Make a list of features, and then once you do it on your home, you can use that to do with your students, or your students can practice making lists and things like that, and exploring wherever they go. During the expedition, script out questions that you'll ask and map out times for students to put down the viewfinders and discuss what they're seeing, because you don't want the students just to put on these viewfinders and then just that's it. You want to have questions. You want them to do work, right? It's still a learning experience. All these Google tools are just tools to help enhance learning. The goal isn't just to use the tool. It's to learn social studies, science, whatever you're doing. Give them a list of guiding questions in a Google Doc. Have the students reference other resources to build meaning during the expedition. After the expedition, provide time to synthesize and apply the new knowledge. Okay, so after they've done this expedition, let them put their newly found knowledge to work. Some ideas, such as return to the original unit of study and see how your students' perspective has shifted now that they've seen it. Have students follow up on the new questions they listed during the expedition. Okay, mapping out your expeditions. Get started by working on an expedition lesson template using a copy provided from the Google Teacher Training Center, now called Skillshop. So you would click here and Google gives you your own little lesson template that you could work on. So if you click here, and this is just a quick link from the Google Slides presentation. So what features does Google Expeditions have in Teacher View? Points of interest, sample questions, and information about the location. This is all from Teacher View, and that's from watching the video, I believe, on Skillshop. When planning your expedition, what should you do first? Okay, we went over this, right? Determine the learning objective, just like always. The first thing you're going to do, what's the objective? Teachers should plan activities that link to the expedition for before and after the expedition itself. So should they plan activities, right? That link? Yeah, of course, right? Let's go to the next one here. So it says, it's a good idea for students to be an engaging and collaborative activity while going on the expedition. Is that true? Yeah, right? You want them to be engaged, and you want them to Google's always pushing for collaboration. And when they are doing this, like I said, you want to keep them active too. So have them take notes or something. Have them stop, take off their viewfinder, and do something. Okay, Science Journal. This is the Science Journal section. Okay, so I made a little video here, just giving like an overview of Science Journal. I just give a little look at it. I made it. It's very short. And you could see there it says Google Educator Level 2. So I'm going to skip it. I think it's 3 minutes. So, all right, with Science Journal, and it can be used through your phone here. Okay, so most of Science Journal, you need the phone. Your students have like a science lab at their fingertips. So it's like they use the phone to do all these calculations and stuff. And they can take these phones anywhere and they can explore and they can use the phone to do all this stuff, right? So the app has to be downloaded and it allows them to observe and measure real-time data from their surroundings and its built-in sensors, okay? Light, sound, acceleration, air pressure, magnetic fields, all of these become tangible and quantifiable with this tool. You got to download it though, the app, right? You can leverage Science Journal to enhance science learning inside and outside your classroom. So to create a meaningful learning experience with Science Journal, okay, the first step is to identify the scientific concept, the scientific concept or existing lesson that you can enhance with Science Journal. In your lesson, plan to integrate meaningful hands-on time with the app. Okay, give your students concrete data collection tasks, include instructions on documenting their observations with the app, and allocate time for reviewing their recordings and data analysis. So there's a lot of preparation here, okay? That's a lot. Sensor detection. The app utilizes built-in sensors in your mobile device to gather data. So inside the phone or the tablet or the Android or whatever it is, they have built-in sensors, and depending on your device, you can measure properties such as sound, acceleration, light intensity, air pressure, magnetic field strength. All stuff we know related to what? Science. Okay, and you could connect to external sensors via Bluetooth. Data collection. Okay, make the best use of many sensors and notebooks. You can have text notes or photos to comment on measurements, right? So that's just being a good scientist, right? Scientists do, I remember when I was in organic chemistry, he would always say, whenever we would do our lab, just put some side notes. It's just, it's just customary. We did some cool labs in organic chemistry. We made, I think, vodka one time. It was a lot of fun. And we did other stuff too. Incorporate different modes of data collection, such as taking individual data snapshots, creating graphs using recordings, or setting triggers to activate your sensors when needed. An experiment template might help you structure the lesson. Okay. Data analysis and post-activity. So when you're done, the app allows students to engage with data, have students review each of their observations, graphs, individual data points, ask them to compare data snapshots or recordings, and encourage them to add explanatory notes in their data. So another theme here is snapshots and to have notes along with their data. So it's science journal is just like that's what it is. It's like it's like a science journal on their phone, but that's also the tool. So science journal is pretty cool, if you're a science teacher. And I could see this mainly with like physics and chemistry, not so much biology, um, maybe a little bit of life science. Okay, engage your students with Science Journal. Now that you've explored the process of bringing Science Journal into and beyond your classroom, try mapping out a plan of your own. So this is just just a little something here. Browse through a library. So if you click this link here, it's got 70 Science Journal activities you might want to check out. Okay, teaching outdoors. Okay, Science Journal in practice. Okay, you can, and these are different cards here from Skillshop. So take your students on a sound safari, create awareness for the sounds that students are exposed to every day, where these sounds come from, how much noise does pass by traffic make, what nature sounds can they capture, which is the quietest or loudest location of their high school. All sciences, right? You got to investigate. Explore some playground physics. Takes your students to the school playground and do some physics explorations. Carousels, swings, a jump rope provide great opportunities to investigate physical concepts such as oscillating motion, acceleration, gravity, and Newton's laws of motion. So playground physics. Okay, remember this is all going outside. Sound safari, playground physics. Have fun in the sun. Allow your students to soak up the sun and do science at the same time. This might come in handy, with social distancing. Discover how much light leaves, like plant leaves absorb, or why we wear sunglasses on a sunny day. Compare light conditions in the sun and shade. Play with shadows. Take your explorations even further. You get the gist here, and make students move, which I love because they need exercise. Are your students tired of sitting around in their seats all day? Turn outdoor action into Science Journal and have students analyze their motions, such as jumping, running, exercising. Remember, there's a lot of sensors built in. Okay, why can you move learning outside with science journals? Why can you do that? Because students can collect real-time data from surroundings. A science journal is available on most mobile devices. That's why you're able to go outside, right? Science journals do not need an internet connection to function, because once you have that app, you can use all the tools in there. Which data collection feature does Science Journal have? Recording data as graphs, taking single or multiple data snapshots, whatever, data, it's the same thing. Remember, snapshots come up a lot here. Adding text observation to data and taking photos and inserting pictures. So all of them. Throughout their experiment, students can record data with multiple sensors simultaneously. Yeah. Okay. Teachers should plan extensive field trips to make the best use of Science Journal outdoors. Think about that, right? Should they plan extensive field trips? No, you don't have to go all the way here and there. It could be used just for the school, like just in front of the school. And you don't have to do an extensive field trip to make the best of Science Journal. Okay, this is like a newer section too. Take global issues with Your Plan, Your Planet. So that's what this whole thing focuses on. It's called Your Plan, Your Planet. This is a link to the website here. And it's a digital tool to enhance awareness of environmental impact and demonstrate how small lifestyle changes can make a big impact. Like I try to, when I was younger, I don't think I recycled much, but now I've become much better at recycling. So this kind of gets students into recycling and things like that. It allows, and my wife is the big one there. She's in the back right now. When I hear the recycling, because she's always messing with me to make sure I recycle all the time, which I do now. It allows teachers to create a learning experience that educates students how to keep the planet healthy while empowering them to take action. The tool is available for free and from any web browser. Okay, you just go to the link on the website. And it's more than just recycling. I don't even think they mention recycling that much. So this lesson is going to show you how you can use Your Plan, Your Planet. All right, so There's four like components that they focus on here. You kind of this you need to know. It's funny. It's food, water, energy, and they call it stuff. And stuff is like your clothing and all just like the junk in your house is what they mean. They should call it junk. With your plan, students can reflect on environmental impacts and the context of their own lives. The tool translates individual actions such as showering. So yeah, listen, I mean, think about how much water is wasted on showering, throwing out food. It talks a lot about carbon dioxide emissions by providing tips for a simple lifestyle changes to improve the sustainability of your home, and not just your home, your planet, your plan. So it makes students realize their own agency and ability to affect change on a global scale. Listen, whenever you talk about making a change, whatever, right? So sometimes these administrators come on and it's everybody uses the word change all the time. Remember, change always starts with the individual person. You know what I mean? The person, the regular you. You know what I mean? So if you want to fix the planet here, don't focus on just talking about it. You be the one. You know what I mean? Conserve water. Don't throw. Don't waste all the food. Don't build up all garbage here. That's basically what they're getting at. Choose tools to personalize your lesson. Okay, so a teacher should use additional tools such as, okay, this is important. Google Earth and Expedition are the two additional tools they mention in this section. They also mention slides to present, whatever you want to do, and sheets to analyze. So those are the four they mention there: Earth, Expeditions, slides, and sheets. And again, what are the four components? Food, the impact of food consumption and hunger; water, explore water issues at different locations; energy, fossil fuels and carbon dioxide emissions; and where does all this stuff go? So when you talk about this website here, these are their four components here that they focus on: food, water, energy, and stuff. Okay, big change starts small. Implementing small changes in your everyday habits can go a long way. This is not only true for tackling global environmental issues by reducing your personal ecological footprint, but transforming your classroom. So don't feel overwhelmed by all these digital tools. Start small and try one of them first to see how your students respond to the change. Okay. Once you feel comfortable using a tool, you can start exploring others. View a sample fifth grade, sixth or eighth grade lesson plan. Okay. On making, again, this is about making small changes in your making small changes in your life habits that go a long way. Okay. So start small. All right, your planet can be used in your classroom to what? All of the above. Enrich lessons with interactive content in combination with digital tools, and to put global environmental issues in a personal context. Your planet can be used in classrooms for any grade level. Yeah, actually, they mentioned 5 and 6, but you can start young, okay? You can use it at all grade levels. And the answer is given here. Your planet is a great tool to kickstart discussions on which of the following topics. Pollution is one, but also sustainability. And what other tools in combination with your planet can be used to personalize your lessons? Again, it was given expeditions, slides. But what about Earth? Did I mention Earth? Yes, I did. Yes, I did, right? And what was the other one I mentioned? Think about it. I said Earth, Expedition, slides. Can anybody think about the other? I said there was four tools. Sheets. Okay, those are the four. All right, so this is a unit review. YouTube live events are what? Are blank recordings that can be saved to your YouTube channel for later viewing. Public, right? YouTube is more for public, and Hangouts is like one-on-one. Which of the following describes how you can use Street View? Okay, while studying the Great Leaf Barrier, go underwater, explore different sections. You could have it as a writing prompt. Teachers zoom into a certain area of a map and pull up a picture. Students describe the scene, and they could tell a story. KMZ files go with which tool? Earth, right? Earth is KMZ. Which map creation tools provide flexibility to create, share, and collaborate with Google Drive? Map creation tool. My Maps, right? It's My Maps. Google Earth can be used in literary lessons to what? Oh, we know this one. Follow the journey of a character, right? Those lit trips. Explore, describe places in literature, right? Which of the following are examples of how you could use Google Meet or YouTube Live? So you can interview a town mayor, okay? connect with classrooms, for a book study. So, all right. So that was it for that was it. All right. So listen, Unit 8, I kind of sped through it because it was a lot. A lot of it's not that important, but um, all right, that's it. All right, listen, I'm gonna try to again. I'm gonna try to get through this as fast as I can here. That's Unit 8. I'm gonna go do Unit 9 hopefully later tonight, and keep this going. Thank you for viewing, guys, and I will see you for the next unit.